Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome, and once again a big welcome from all of us here at ITV. Let's talk to a new beginning, the new year 2020, our first live show for 2020. We must apologize. We hope and pray, inshallah, this is not a sign of things to come. Yes, we are aware that we're 10 minutes late, but of course we blame it directly onto Eskom. The lights went out. Alhamdulillah, our generators have kicked in and we're all ready and raring to go, and hope you'll keep us company for the rest of the show. We'll be talking with Media Review Network about the uprisings in the Middle East, the issue between Iran and the US, what exactly is happening there behind the scenes, and hopefully will the madness end. Ibrahim Vauda from Media Review Network will be in to talk to us about that. And then entrepreneur Brian Walsh is here to give us a kickstart into the new year 2020. If you've been battling with your career, with your small business, or perhaps you feel that you have absolutely no direction in life, then please stay tuned to Brian Walsh's interview with us right here on ITV Let's Talk, because he will certainly be able to motivate you, and perhaps you can sign up on one of his forthcoming courses and truly make a life-changing decision. Another life-changing decision with our first guest. She's a Taekwondo expert. She's been practicing her art from the tender age of 12. She is now 29 years old, and she truly believes that sport, any form of sport, can be a life-changing decision for you, or it can take you on a life-changing path as far as anything and everything in your life is concerned. Her name is Aboeng Segwelia. She's from the Just Community Development Group, and she does lots more than just Taekwondo. Morning, welcome to the program.
Morning, thank you for having me.
When I talk Taekwondo, when I talk self-defense, when I talk sport, it speaks directly to you. It goes straight to your heart, does it not?
It does.
Your journey started at the tender age of 12. Why did you decide at that point in your life, when perhaps you didn't even understand what Taekwondo was all about, why did you decide to embrace the sport?
You know, when the sport was introduced into my community, everyone was excited, and a friend of mine actually went.
Which was, where did you come from? What community are you talking about?
Okay, I'm originally from Rustenburg, in the northwest, in a rural area called Garamokokastad. And this Taekwondo was actually brought by Koreans, because it's a Korean martial art. So when they brought it, it was fascinating. We all wanted to do it. So I decided, you know what, let me also give it a try, because I grew up not playing with girls. So I'm like, this is probably the sport for me.
Okay, so you were very sporty from a very early age, but it was also some form of diversion for the young people in the area at the time. Because if there's no sport or any other outlet, we know what the consequences of that would be or could be. Young people who feel they have no futures or can't see a future for themselves would turn to criminality, drug abuse, etc., etc., etc. How many of the young people in your community got involved in the sport, and how did the elders of the community view this new sport being introduced by foreigners? Did they kind of think, what is it in for us? What is it, and what are the foreigners perhaps getting out of it?
You know, the funny part is when the Koreans came to our place, the whole community were embracing them, and because they had brought changes. There were libraries, there's Taekwondo as well. So the community, like, they were happy. And our parents as well were happy that we were involved in that sport. At a tender age of 12, I actually went there, and since from that day, it has been a life-changing experience, because there's a lot that happened. I was the first black lady to be in the national team.
Wow,
So
congrats.
I had to travel. I was the first girl in our community to ever travel. So I went to places like Korea, represented the country. So it was very good. It is still very good because there are still other students that are also doing the same thing in our community.
When you started Taekwondo at 12 and probably progressed, the following few years you were still doing it, you then developed a love for the sport, and you'll give us more details about it. Did you ever imagine that you're going to make a career out of it and that you're going to be traveling to the Far East? When you were told that you've been chosen to go, what was going through your mind?
It was...
Here's this little girl in the rural area,
Yeah.
never imagining she'd ever get out of the rural areas, and you were traveling the world.
It was exciting. Being the first person in my family.
I can see how emotional you are because it's opened up doors unimaginable.
Yeah, it did. And the whole community actually came together for me. I remember when I represented the country for the All Africa Games in Algiers. The whole community came together. They celebrated me as a young girl, and they sent me off with love, and I did my very best. So when I came back, they still gave me that same love. And the parents actually saw that this sport is actually good for us. So it was exciting.
And you're still very emotional about this, and
Yeah.
it's fine, embrace the moment. It's wonderful because I can see it go straight to your heart, because by doing what you do, you've given hope to so many young people out there. It's been life-changing, not only for you, but for your entire family, has it not?
Yeah.
You've made a career, you're able to put bread on the table,
Yes.
but you're also able to do what you're passionate about, and that is obviously Taekwondo.
Yes.
In the first few years, did you kind of work hard towards becoming a professional, or were you still thinking that you're going to pursue some other avenues as far as your future is concerned?
To be honest with you, I've always seen myself as someone who's going to change the world through Taekwondo.
Wow.
And though there were things that happened that set me back, but I
Things
bounced.
like?
I literally went back home after my scholarship ended. I was studying in Pretoria. So when I got home, like any
Studying
other...
what?
I was taken into a sports school.
Okay.
Yes, because I was in the national team. So I had to be with the national team coach all the time. He had to train me. So after everything ended, like I had to go back home because there were no funds for me to go back. So when I got back home, I felt all hope was lost. I started being a normal child, and I felt, you know what, let me just rather give up.
Why did you feel that way? Did you kind of, at that point, not see any future for yourself?
Yes, I did. I did not see any future for me in Taekwondo. And
Why was that?
Because I was used to training with the national team coach. Now going back, because I had no funds and my parents were not working at that time, so I could not afford to go back, and there were no sponsorship. So everything just sprawled, and everything just
Came to a standstill.
came to a standstill.
How long ago was that?
It was 7 years back.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 7 years back.
What changed to propel you back into the limelight and what you're truly passionate about?
You know, that's the most fascinating story. Because I remember it was 2017 when I came this side. I decided, I was working at retail. And I told my mom, you know what, it's now time for me to pursue something that's...
So you were working in retail, but I hope that you were still practicing your art.
No, I had stopped actually, because I had given up hope. So coming this side, I saw a need. And I said to myself, you know what, I am tired of working at a call center. I'm tired of working in retail. I want something that is mine. And, you know, we all have talents. I believe in my heart, this is my talent. And I decided to start Just Academy. And yeah, from the very first day that I started Just Academy, I won't say there has not been disappointments. It has been challenging. But one thing that kept me is the passion, because I believed in my heart that I need to give back. I need to give back. What happened to me cannot happen to another child.
And you're not doing this for the money?
No.
Doing it purely for the love of the sport, and that is Taekwondo.
Yes.
Let's go for our first ad break. When we get back, we're going to understand what exactly is this art form, how does it serve you, and how at this time of the year when everybody's trying to get back into shape after the long holidays, the summer holidays, we threw caution to the winds and we've put on weight, we are unfit and we want to get back on track. You'll tell us how through this sport it is possible.
Yes.
Okay, Aboeng is our guest. She's talking about something that she's truly passionate about, and that is the sport of Taekwondo. Her struggles through putting up this academy. Where is she at now? How do you and I become involved, perhaps to support her or get the community around her to continue supporting her and get all our kids off the street corners and let them see the beauty in sport, not only Taekwondo, but any other sporting code? Welcome back to our first live Let's Talk right here on ITV Networks for the year 2020, and we hope and pray, inshallah, that this year is going to fulfill all of your dreams, hopes and promises. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide each and every one of us, and with Allah's guidance, inshallah, that we achieve everything we've set out to achieve. And in coming programs, obviously we're going to be talking to a couple of motivational speakers to get us back on track, to just renew our energy and make sure that we start everything that we've put off for until now, till the new year. And of course, Aboeng is one of those people. She's talking about her art form, which is Taekwondo. She truly believes that it's one of the modalities that could get you going as far as weight loss and getting into peak fitness. Perhaps you want to try this as an alternative to any other sporting code that you might have tried. Back to you. We then end the episode at, obviously, the rural area. You're working in retail, working in call centers. Sick and tired of it because it is not your calling. Taekwondo is what you want and what you want to follow. Let's understand the art form before we even talk about your academy. What does it involve? How physical do you have to be? And would it give you, like I've just said, get you into peak physical fitness? As far as discipline is concerned, as far as the gear, you look gorgeous in your gear, you look very professional. As far as gear is concerned, how much of time do you need to put in, whether you want to just do it for fun or whether you want to become a professional?
With Taekwondo, there's a lot that you have to put in. Firstly, let me say, if you are passionate, determination as well. Because with us, we are basically different from other martial arts in a sense that we focus on high kicks and stuff. So we need to deal with your flexibility, firstly. And when it comes to fitness, you cannot perform if you're not fit. Because with us, as seniors and juniors, we go into competitions. And when we go into competitions, there's a certain time that you spend on the ring. If you are not fit, you cannot do that. So we put in a lot of work when it comes to fitness. So we deal with fitness first, flexibility, and then, we get you into the ring. And,
Does it also mean that you follow a certain type of diet? And what would the restrictions be as far as the diet and being in peak physical performance or fitness levels?
Yeah, diet is very important because you cannot be eating everything. Remember, you go to the gym, you burn out calories, and you cannot take them back again. So you need to watch what you eat as well, because now if you tend to lose, you want to lose weight, you cannot put it back again. So we need to like have a strict diet when it comes to that.
People wanting to lose weight, would taekwondo be one of the means if they took it on as a fun sport, not necessarily to become professional taekwondo artists? Can they do it just for fun?
Yes, they can. They can. Because at the moment, I do have parents from their academy that are actually training with us. They also doing it for weight loss as well.
And for fitness.
And for fitness as well. So it's very exciting. Because now when you see these people losing weight and then they'd be like, you know what, we thank you for the work and everything. Because we train very hard. Our session is about 2 hours. So you can imagine.
What about confidence building? Because you talk discipline. What about confidence? And what about people wanting to take up the sport for self-defense purposes? How do you respond to something like that? Because you don't want people who take up the sport, become very good at it, and then go out into the world and start flexing their muscles.
Yeah, that's a very good one. Because remember, with each and every martial arts, there's discipline. So there's a way that we are taught, and that the way that we also teach our students. You cannot be taught the high kicks and everything and then go into the world and start
being aggressive.
Yes. So we deal with discipline. So that's one of our highlights. And yeah, mostly you will never find a martial artist that would just go out there and be bullying people.
Because he's disciplined.
Yes.
Through his training, he has also learned discipline.
Yes.
So now you come back to Johannesburg after being in the rural area. When you're in the rural area, your entire situation changed from hero to zero.
Yes.
You were very demotivated, you were very depressed, but then you had to pick yourself up and make something of your life. You started working, but that was not for you. What gave you the push and the motivation? And of course you needed financial backing as well to come back to Johannesburg to start the Just Academy, community development.
When I came this side, I had a sister. Her name is Mpo. When I came here, she was actually helping me sort out paperwork, and whenever I didn't have money for interviews, because I had to go into schools and tell them, this is what I do, I would like to get involved in your school. She would even compromise giving me money to go into those schools. So yeah, she became a blessing. She helped me with paperwork and setting up the whole thing. So yeah.
Did you have enough confidence in thinking that this is going to work? Because I'm sure you knocked on many doors.
I had. Definitely, I had confidence. And you know, when you are passionate about something, you want to see it succeed. So I even had sleepless nights. I would be like, this has to work. It has to work. So I kept on pushing and pushing, even when doors were closed. So I kept on pushing and knocking.
So as we speak now, where do you operate from? How many students do you have? And how many schools are you working with as well?
Okay, currently I'm at the gym company in Randburg, where we train on Saturdays. We have juniors and senior sessions.
So that's like almost a semi-permanent job.
Yes. So during the week, I go to Amazing Grace. It's a school, Oceans, and then Eagles, and then yeah. I'm looking to expand as well. There are other schools that I've been looking. So yeah, and this year I'm also branching out because I'm looking to go into daycares as well. Because I believe if they start at an early age, then it's perfect.
So what's the ideal age to start at?
3 years.
And the age to stop?
even when you're 100.
Okay.
Yes.
Very quickly, we're going to wrap up now. Tell us about your community development work.
Okay, in our community development work, we actually go into communities, disadvantaged communities. We look at communities like Diepsloot, Cosmo City, Alexandra, and also back home. There are communities that need us. We need to change lives through sports. These youth, you know what they get involved in.
How much time are you spending at the communities, because you're at the gym company and you're servicing 3 or 4 schools as well? So where do you get the time to go into communities to work with them, to work with the youth?
Each and every day I make sure that I spare 2 hours, because most of my sessions are like 2 hours. So I make sure that I spare 2 hours and then go into the community.
And teach the young people this code of sport.
Yes.
For people wanting to enroll, where can they go to?
They can come to the gym company. When they get to the gym company, they can just ask, and then they will get referrals from there.
Final message to our viewers this morning as far as sport and passion is concerned.
Focus on sport, because it changes lives. And let's go out there and do our work.
Good on you. God bless. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much.
And there you have it. Taekwondo being a code of sport if you're wanting to lose weight, if you want to get into peak physical condition, and if you just want to change your life. And if you're really bored and tired of the same old, here is another or a new or a different discipline that you can look into. In a short while, we'll be joined by Brian Walsh, another guru coming in to tell us about what you can or should be doing to make things happen in your life. And we'll be wrapping up by talking to Ibrahim Vauda about the Middle Eastern conflict, or rather Tehran and the USA. And welcome back. Our next guest is Brian Walsh, and he's here to talk to us about the real entrepreneur. I think that's how it's pronounced. He had lots of dreams from a tender age of 16, started his own business, and lots more business thereafter. Some of them might have been relatively successful, but largely most of them failed. But today, as we speak, he's sitting in my company and can boast that through sheer hard work, determination, never ever giving up, finding the right formula, he can safely say that he has made it. Now, we know that in South Africa, we're sitting at almost a 30% unemployment rate. What does that mean to South Africa? And we do know that with the Eskom debacle playing out, the world is watching us with beady eyes, and lots of people seem to think it's going to be doom and gloom going forward in 2020. But with someone like Brian Walsh, I think he'll beg to differ. Let's hear and understand why. Good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
You've been in the business for a long, long time. You've tried, I should imagine, your hand at many different businesses. And I guess back in the day, we didn't even understand what an entrepreneur means. And if there is a space in our country for people with big dreams, big visions, but no backing to get them going. I've talked about the unemployment rate, and here you are talking about entrepreneurs are the way forward, perhaps for South Africa.
Yeah, I think, entrepreneurship is a key component for the whole planet right now, because obviously with the way things are disrupting and evolving as a whole, there's no such thing as guaranteed employment or safe employment anymore. And with the large population growth, especially in developing areas, one has to look at, how you can take charge of that yourself. A lot easier said than done. And I think that, there's a distinction that we always make with the word entrepreneur, because many people that start a business just become self-employed. And when you're self-employed, you're kind of working for yourself, but it's not the greatest boss, and you often don't get paid. And, it's the struggle and it's the challenge. And I think there's a mindset that is very incorrect that we've seen globally. Michael Gerber's been talking about it for a long time, where people get stuck working in their business. They create a job for themselves instead of actually becoming a business owner. So we like to say the real entrepreneur is somebody who actually becomes a business owner with the objective of the business giving them a better quality of life, making a bigger difference, and helping them achieve wealth, meaning, and freedom in their lives. So I think there's two sides to that story. You know, the one is, you know, taking charge of your own life and managing your perspective for income. But the other is, you know, 99% of people get stuck when they do that. And
there's no growth. Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying? Why do you think they kind of stuck? What is it that's holding them back? Is it fear? Is it just not understanding the bigger picture? Is there lots more that they meant to be putting into the business and they just don't know how, or they don't know the where or the what or the why?
First and foremost, it's the individual. Like Tony Robbins would say, you know, you are the chokehold of your own business. And if you think of a chokehold, that's quite an aggressive sort of statement. Your personal growth is a critical component. So there's things called standards, there's various elements around mindset, psychology around money. All of these things from a mental perspective are actually the most critical elements as to where the money will flow through your life, whether you'll be able to go out there and achieve, you know, results. And this is something that's always fascinated me, because this is an area of you know, my greatest sort of, you know, interest from my own perspective in life, is that, you know, when we work with entrepreneurs, we work with individuals, not with businesses, but actually with people. It's the people that dictate whether something succeeds or fails. Yes, you've got to do the right stuff, but at the end of the day, we can teach you all the right stuff, but if you're not the person you need to be, it's not going to happen. It's, you know, we can launch 2 marketing campaigns simultaneously to the same market with the same system, with 2 companies that offer exactly the same product, and one fails and one succeeds. Why? You know, so the mindset is the actual biggest component. And I think, you know, South Africa and Africa as a whole, there's, you know, we have this kind of diminished belief about ourselves. You know, we look at the world. I had a friend from Senegal that once said, you know, it's like you take a piece of paper, you roll it up as a funnel. And in Africa, we look through the little hole at this big world, and then the big world looks at us as if we're a little hole. That context has to change tremendously. So for us to create success in business individually and, you know, from an economic point of view, we have to change and we have to empower ourselves and become the best versions of ourselves. And that's really where the greatest problem lies in terms of producing results.
You started business at the tender age of 16. You had many experiences. I should imagine a couple of successes along the way, but many failures. And we are told by gurus like yourself that success is a stepping stone to
failure
is a stepping stone to success. I think in the moment you don't realize that, you know, you need to learn what has gone wrong and learn and grow from there. What were your failures like, and what is it that kept pushing you on to persevere and look at you today, look at the success that you are today?
I think, you know, failure it's an emotional thing for people, because the truth is, so when we talk contextually in business, we always say to people, a business is not you. You know, there's far too much emotional attachment between you and a business. A business fails. 95% of businesses fail in 10 years or less. You know, more than half of them in the first year. That's a global statistic. So, you know, you really are against the odds of your business failing. The problem is you make it all about you, and then emotionally it feels like you fail. And we have, again, that mindset and context around it. And that emotion is what kills us. The truth is many people they got this business and it's not working, and they just stick with it and stick with it, and gets into more debt and gets into more trouble, and it creates more challenges for them. Instead of realizing it's a separate entity, you can actually cut it off and start again. So there's definitely that context. Now, I didn't get that at all. I mean, I don't think I succeeded at all until I started Entrepreneur.co today, a real entrepreneur, and all the subsidiaries now, you know, about 13 years ago. And even then, it took me probably 5-6 years of struggle before I started to see the real results. That is mostly because of me. You know, I'd like to say, yes, you've got to invest 10,000 hours to become a professional, become really efficient at something. But it was mostly because of me, because of that emotional journey. So I can still remember some of the dreadful emotional experiences I had from my first business in the music industry in Cape Town, you know, to other businesses that I sort of had to run away from. And that's the point, because people get stuck, self-employed, stuck, working in their business and not working on their business, not actually developing a business that produces results for them. And that's why you get that repetitive thing happening over and over again. And again, it's the personal journey. We have to break that in our psychology. We have to shift how we perceive things. You're 100% right. Failure is a stepping stone to success. So,
small businesses or a one-man enterprise, for example, watching us this morning may think that, what's the point? I am I'm a one-man show. Why should I go out and invest? And I know that you've got a seminar happening this weekend, and we're going to unpack that after the ad break. Why should I even, I'm just managing, I'm just scraping through, and if I work hard at it, maybe in a year's time, I'll reach my first goal or whatever. Why do I still need to spend money attending a seminar or going to a business guru to tell me how to run my business?
I think, I mean, you don't, it's not about needing to spend money. I mean, the event this weekend's free, for instance. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
But I mean, you know, and there's a lot of stuff online. There's a lot of people you can follow on YouTube. There's, you know, you've got to kind of do your own selection. The thing that you do need to do is continuously develop yourself through education. And I think that that's the key thing. You know, like a lot of people think that the education stops when they leave school or when they leave tertiary education. The truth is, 86% of the wealthiest people in the world, this is a crazy study that was done over many years, that was concluded in 2013, but 86% of the wealthiest people in the world believe in lifelong educational self-improvement. And if that doesn't tell you something, and I've had the privilege of meeting a lot of ridiculously wealthy people, you know, and every single one, I mean, I actually get blown away by how they often, you know, will start an interview. I interviewed a dollar billionaire once, many years ago. And, you know, as he came on to a Skype call, he said, Brian, I know you want to ask me some questions, but can I just have 20 minutes of your time to ask you some questions? And not like 5 minutes, not like an exaggerated thing, but actually 20 minutes.
And 20 minutes is a long time.
And it was, and I was just thinking, as long as it's not about investment or money, because his personal net worth was over $3 billion, you know. But I think the key thing is, that's the commitment. It's not, you know, yes, I spend money on my education. I believe one should if you really want to develop yourself. But the truth is, whether you buy books, whether you watch, you know, there's hundreds of incredibly inspirational videos on YouTube. It doesn't matter. It's accessible to everybody nowadays. You know, 30, 40 years ago, it was accessible only to a few. The truth is now it's accessible to everyone. So there's no excuse. So really, it's just about you committing to that journey.
To become a better version of yourself, to invest in yourself, so that the people around you, the people that you interact with, can see your worth. They start believing in you and you start growing.
The universe reacts, yeah.
Let's go for our first ad break. Brian Walsh is in studio. We're talking about entrepreneurship, and he's just mentioned the magic word. They're having a seminar this weekend and it's free. You don't have to pay anything, but we get all of the details right after the ad break. Welcome back. I'm talking to Brian Walsh. He's from the company called The Real Entrepreneur. We're talking about investing in yourself. And he really, early on in the show, spoke about being self-employed, the businessman, or someone starting up their own business, and the difference between him and the true entrepreneur. How you invest in yourself, how you see the bigger picture of not only yourself, your little business, but the entire world, and how you can start tapping into different resources to possibly grow. Maybe not even your business, but how to grow as a person. That is the bottom line, is it not?
Yeah, 100%. So, you know, your future's not a reflection of your past, so it's irrelevant what you've been through in the past. And
or the size of your business, or the size of your income.
It's you know, success, we define success as wealth, meaning, and freedom. So wealth is the element of financial freedom, because if we talk into 5,000 people and ask them who wants to be financially free, everyone puts their hands up. It's like one of those sort of fantasies that people live by, but they don't actually know what to do about it. So the money and the wealth, and wealth is different to money. It's really what we do through investment and creating financial independence is one critical component. It's the one we normally measure. We don't actually measure wealth, we measure money. So, you know, we as an outside perspective look at people driving a fancy car, living in a big house, and go, they must be very successful. Not true, because many are not necessarily wealthy because they haven't got financial independence and they're working on that. They also, the other two, meaning and freedom. So meaning is about relationships. Money is never going to give you a context of fulfillment or meaning in life. How you interact and how you connect with people, the world, God, all the elements that are relevant to you is actually where you get your sense of meaning. And freedom, because despite the fact that you might think if you've got all the money in the world, you're free, it's seldom true. So, you know, freedom is a choice of how do I mold my life to have that freedom, to raise my kids, spend more time with them, spend more time with my family, travel the world, do the kind of things that I want to do, depending on what's important to you. And those three things collectively define success, not just the one we see from the outside as a whole. And I think that's something that's very important for people to understand, and particularly in the entrepreneurial journey, because theoretically we take in our destiny into our own hands.
True.
But we're getting it so wrong. And when we measure those three outcomes, we often find that the entrepreneur is not getting any results in any of those three outcomes. So,
what's the seminar going to cover, and how long does it run for?
Okay, so the seminar is on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. It's a 2-day event. It runs from about 8:30 to 7:30 each night. just so the viewers know, it's broadcast through webcast, like a multi-camera webcast. You can watch it online, and you can attend in the room. There's still some free tickets available. I think it's almost full, but it's probably still a few people can get in. And it covers so it's called Real Success 2020. So it covers a broad spectrum. Yes, we talk about business entrepreneurship early on, but then there's Dr. John DiMartini talking about values and how to define who you are, or there's Brandon Bays talking about healing yourself emotionally and through physical elements. Or there's Robin Banks talking about mind power, and or we've got this incredible group of friends. People always say, Brian, why are they not like this, or they're not? I'm like, they're my friends. We love on Facebook. Everyone goes like, oh, but there's not enough women, there's not enough Indian people, there's not enough all this kind of stuff. And they're like, well, that's fair enough, but I mean, they're just my friends, at the end of the day. And I want a group of people who collectively want to make an impact in those people's lives. And I think that's what always makes me excited about this event. It's not speakers coming on, going off and not caring about everyone else. It's actually a group of people that have one primary objective, and that is to wake you up and make you realize you're in control. And it's the beginning of the year. Let's go and make 2020 a really special year.
Is this your CSI initiative?
No, it's got a business element to it. I wouldn't call it a CSI initiative, but it's to a degree. So there'll be a lot of people that come in there that could never purchase programs or be involved in other stuff, and they get a massive amount of value out of it. We open it up in our marketing for that, to really get a diversity in there as a whole. So I suppose you could say from that aspect you could call it that, but we don't see it that way. It's our job as a company, Real Success Events, Real Entrepreneurs, the entrepreneurial focus company, but it's our job as a company to connect people on learning journeys on a global basis, as we always say. So at the end of the day, the more people I can expose to the understanding that you can become better and you can do things with your life and you can improve your life, the better. And last year when we did Real Success 2019, I think we estimated that about 60% of the audience had never been to a personal business development event in their lives before. And that just gives me goosebumps when I think about that, because people literally, you can see them waking up in the room, just like I did when I was 26 and thought life was just like you flow and it's just a mess and it's terrible, when you actually realize, wait a minute, stop, you can take control. And so that's what gives me the heebie-jeebies. I get so excited about it. I walk around that room watching people's reactions to Billy Selekane or Paul, and we've got 3 or 4 internationals and the rest are all South African and Africans, and it's just unbelievable to see people's light bulbs go off and make them realize we can do something different.
So this is a free seminar, 2-day event. People that perhaps will be attending for the first time and get their aha moment and realize I need to explore more and, definitely start growing more. What happens after the seminar? Whom do they contact? What are the avenues open to them to perhaps start this journey? Because it's fine attending the seminar and getting some insight as to what the lack is in their lives or what's missing in their lives to become the true success that they hope to be, because that's what it's all about, is it not?
Yeah.
What's the next step? Do they then come to a company like yours? What would you be doing for them?
So I think a number of our teachers have additional programs either online or, they're doing, like Brandon Bays is bringing the Journey Intensive here for the first time in many years in June and stuff. So there's that option obviously to work with individual teachers through their programs. Then there's something we call the Real Success Club that's launching there. It's actually launched, but it's been pushed there, which is a lower cost entry point where you can get constant education online. And we as Real Success, have Real Entrepreneur website and Real Success website, which are free resources of information and content. So it depends obviously at the level that people are at. But like I said, there's a bookstore there. You can buy books and CDs. There's anything, that makes sense to you to take the journey further. I think I really push people in the room and say, this is just the beginning. So you need to look at it and say, can I commit myself to this journey for 2020 and then onwards on a continuous basis? And start with whatever. Buy a book at the back of the room, or just go onto a free website if some people really have no accessibility, or buy a program to work with the teacher that impacted you the most or that you felt was most relevant to your current context in life. It is, I invest millions on my education and my team's education, and you can see the outcome in their lives and in the businesses' lives. But it's the biggest investment is time anyway, not the money. It's actually funny how people go, the money. The truth is, will you put in an hour a day or half an hour a day or 5 hours a week or whatever to your personal development? Will you make it a ritual of your life? That's the real defining factor that's going to make the difference between success and failure in most people's lives.
And there's so much more I'd like to talk to you about. But unfortunately, we've come to the end of the program. So I'm going to hand over to summarize the entrepreneur, South Africa, the unemployment rate, the fact that someone starts up a business and the moment it starts going well, even if it's a one-man business, everyone around him is going to copy him and or replicate his idea, and he might just then have to shut down. How do you avoid those scenarios? What gives you the edge to be able to stand out and make your business flourish, small, big, or even a medium-sized enterprise?
Yeah. Just one thing in case they didn't get it, it's realsuccess20.com if people want to go and get tickets for that event. So realsuccess20.com, you can go and grab those. I think that we said it at the beginning, it's very much mindset. I'm fascinated with people that come to me and, Brian, I've got this incredible idea, but will you sign a document before I share it with you? And I'm so scared people are going to take it from me. You don't lead by being overprotective. Obviously, if you've got an invention or if you've got certain intellectual property, you can protect it through different formulas. But people, that kind of mindset is a defeatist mindset in itself. If you've got something, yes, it might be new and innovative. Of course, people are going to copy you. It's a global factor. But then lead. Let you go and lead from the front. Make it that your objective. So it's very much that we call it standards in life. Have you got a demand of yourself that you will achieve a certain thing? Not like we all want things, but have you got this absolute conviction that we'll achieve something? And we talk a lot about that at the event, because at the end of the day, you have to get into a place in your mind where there's no alternative, and it's just find a way, make a way. There's no negative talk and getting all freaked out and worrying about stuff all the time. And that's what we call a standard shift.
That's one of the keys, just to move away from a very negative mindset.
Yeah.
The power of positive thinking, and unfortunately that's where we have to leave it. I look forward to hopefully maybe popping in and attending one or two of the talks. Thank you for being with us. That was Brian Walsh talking to us about reinventing yourself. Here's the opportunity. Attend the seminar. Make something of your life. Doesn't matter how big or small your business might be. You need to start investing in yourself, believe in yourself, and things will start happening for you. Still to come, we'll be talking the Middle East scenario with Ibrahim Avada from Media Review Network. And finally on the show, one of my favorite people, Brother Ibrahim Vada from Media Review Network. They're an advocacy group, and we're here to talk about the situation in the Middle East, Iran in particular, and the happenings or the atrocities playing out in that part of the world right now. Assalamu alaikum, welcome to the program.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and it's good to be with you.
Always nice chatting with you, and never enough time to cover everything we'd like to cover. But let's start right from the beginning, and we go to Qasem Soleimani's assassination. What was the motive? Because obviously we know there's a lot of propaganda, both sides, from the Iranians' perspective and from the American and the Western world's perspective as well. But what was the true motive of his assassination? I don't buy the fact that there was an imminent targets by Soleimani on American Western bases or Western targets.
That last statement of yours is very true. But I think for us to understand how we got to this point where Qasem Soleimani was assassinated, we must look at the historical context of what happened. And when we discuss the historical context, then we must understand that in the room there are three big elephants. And you cannot discuss any topic, any political topic with regards to the Middle East if you don't take these three elephants into account. Being the Zionist illegal occupation of Palestine, the illegitimate regimes in the Middle East, starting with Saudi Arabia, and then the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Kuwait, and all of these people. They are illegitimate, they are illegal. And of course the third one is the oil wealth, the very important elephants that we need to consider. Then we look at the relationship between the United States and Iran post-World War II. We all know about the democratically elected government in Iran under Mossadegh, and he was overthrown with the help of CIA and Mossad. And then following up on all those things, various milestones were reached. For example, the 1979 overthrow of the Shah, the Islamic Revolution, and then the political ties, diplomatic ties between the United States and Iran was broken. In fact, Israel, who had an embassy in Tehran, they were asked to leave within 24 hours. Then we had lately we had the sanctions, economic sanctions against
And they're
Iran.
still ongoing.
Yes, so it's this on, and we need to keep this firmly in our minds when we talk about Qasem Soleimani. Now, Soleimani himself, the commander.
Little known to the rest of us in South Africa and other parts of the world.
Yes, what he experienced over the period post-World War II up to now, what Qasem Soleimani experienced was that, first of all, remember, he was in that Iraq-Iran war, and he was a 20-year-old youngster at that time. But he realized that there's the occupation not only of Palestine, but the occupation of many of the countries, many of the areas in that region, and this occupation was an American occupation as a result of the American military bases. That was a form of occupation. That's the first thing he realized. He then realized that we've got this American Zionist imperialist agenda, which he opposed vehemently. Then he also realized that if we are going to curb this American imperialist expansionism, Zionist expansionism in the area, then we will have to resist. And this is when he established the resistance axis, which the Western media love to call, the militia. They're not militia. These are resistant fighters, just like Hezbollah, resistance, Hamas. They're all resisting this kind of occupation.
The West has been saying things like, and other factors have also been saying, that Soleimani initially was responsible for getting ISIS out of many of the Mideastern countries. Is that true?
That is very true. And what the Americans and the Western media would love us to believe is that ISIS and Al-Qaeda were defeated by the Americans. Nonsense. It was as a result of this, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. They established Hezbollah, they support Hamas, they support the Yemen rebels, the Houthis, not the rebels, sorry, the Yemeni Houthis. They supported all of these people, knowing full well that if we do not resist this occupation by America, assisted by the United States, and sadly assisted by the other Arab surrogate countries in the region, we will lose the fight in the long term. So Soleimani was at the head of that resistance. Soleimani had to be eliminated at all costs. That is what brought us to this point where he was then assassinated.
The timing of his assassination, how significant is it?
Yes, good question. I don't think timing is very important as far as the Americans and the Zionists are concerned. What is important to them is how does this affect the Zionist agenda for that region? How does it affect the Western imperialist American empire building agenda in that region? That is key to the whole thing. And this is, I think, a message somebody needs to give to the Saudis, that if Iran falls, you are next. They must not think that because they are in bed, so to speak, with Donald
But that's
Trump.
what they believe, that they are protected. They're the greatest friends of the Western supposed allies, so to speak.
Absolutely.
How would they be at risk?
You see, the moment, in the final analysis, this agenda does not take into account the interests of the Saudi Arabs. It takes into account the interest of the Zionist agenda and the American empire building agenda and the Western neo-colonialism. That's the agenda at the end of the day.
Divide and rule.
Divide and rule.
And they've caused enough havoc in the Middle East up to now.
Absolutely, absolutely.
When all of this started playing out, the Iranians then put out a press statement that they are going to strike Dubai and other countries in the UAE. Why did they make a statement like that? What would the repercussions be if they did go that route?
Right, let's look at why they made that statement. Let's widen it a little. The statement mentioned Dubai, but the statement was actually for all those surrogate governments. Any one of you people use your territory supporting the American invasion of Iran and the attack of Iran, and if that attack emanated from your country, then you become an open target for us. Then we have every right to defend ourselves. So they sent a message to Dubai. They said, you use your country, your area to support the Americans. Remember, you are now becoming a target. We will then have every right to defend us. So let's not only limit it to a threat to Dubai alone. That's the United Arab Emirates. It's for Kuwait, it's for Bahrain, it's for the Saudis, all of them. That the moment you allow America to use your space to attack our country, you become easy target for us.
I'd like to also talk about the demise of the Sultan of Oman. Are there any repercussions or not? We'll look at that right after the ad break. Let's also look at the issue around, and I guess this has been on the cards from the time the colonialists ruled all the African and Eastern countries. It's about redefining borders. There has been talk again that the Western powers are wanting to once again redefine those borders, but all of that right after the ad break. Ibrahim Vada from Media Review Network is here to talk about the situation in the Middle East. How dire is it? Will common sense prevail? Will world leaders get together and try and make sense and instill a bit of common sense into the heads of those people that make such rash decisions? And of course, I'm talking Donald Trump, who is very impulsive, and what his actions means for the rest of the world. And why are the American people so silent? Does that suggest that perhaps this man is going to be serving another term? At their peril, I should imagine. All of that right after the ad break. Welcome to the final segment of the show this morning. Ibrahim Vada from Media Review Network is in studio talking to us about the US-Iran conflict. We say US-Iran conflict, but I just understand, really we're talking about the Western powers, because Britain, I think it was Britain, France,
Germany.
And another, it was Germany. They've now come together and they've released a statement about Iran's nuclear plant and program. What's that all about? What are they hoping to achieve and attain? Does Iran in fact have the nuclear capabilities that the whole world is screaming and shouting about?
Look, they do have the capabilities. Right now they are telling the world we want to use nuclear knowledge for domestic purposes, which is a fact. But they do have the capacity to build that nuclear weapon. Now, what the question we should be asking, why is it that Israel is allowed to have over 200 nuclear warheads and not Iran? They're double standards. Talking about these other countries from the West, Britain, France, Germany, all of them are saying to Iran that if you renege on that the nuclear deal, then we need to reconsider our position.
Which means they're going to further impose sanctions.
Which then means they are put under pressure. Because simply last week, They said, no, we will stick to that, and we will see if we can get Iran back onto the negotiating table. And Iran then issued the statement to say, we are now going to give up that the deal, and we will continue our nuclear program. But when the United States pulled out of the deal 2 years ago, these Western countries did not threaten the United States. So obviously they're applying double standards. So they must be under huge pressure from the United States and Israel, let's not forget that, to threaten Iran. So they've got no choice in the matter but to follow what the master says.
The downing of the plane accidentally by the Iranians, which killed a lot of Iranian or joint Iranian-American Canadian citizens as well. So huge loss not only to Iran but to Canada as well. How has that hurt Iran? Have sympathies moved away from them in this whole debacle that's playing out?
First of all, sympathy has not moved away from the regime. No, so the government in Iran, that's the government of Imam Khamenei, it hasn't moved away. How the Western media is portraying this is the following. If you compare the masses of people last week on the streets in Baghdad, as well as in the various cities in Iran, where there were millions of people on the streets in sympathy with the killing, the assassination of Soleimani. Compare that to the number of people that are demonstrating. If I say 150 people, that's a hell of a lot. Now 150 compared to over millions, 7-8 million people, does that tell you that sympathy has moved away? To me, not at all. It is not a movement of a support for anti-Khamenei factions. That faction is a very, very minute, tiny faction. So I don't really believe that the Khamenei feels threatened by any of these things. But the Western media will want us to believe that yes, Khamenei's reign of terror is now in danger. But the reign of terror, actually, state terrorism, is coming from two quarters, the United States and Israel. And nobody talks about that.
There has been talk, obviously, about Western powers coming together and wanting to redefine the borders, which they've been doing throughout history. Yes. Redefine the borders in the Middle East. Do you have any idea about that? And obviously, that is factual. We know that that is the agenda.
Yes.
They're wanting to protect their interests in the Middle East and very especially protect Israel as well. Where do we stand on that situation? What about the leaders of the Middle East?
Factual indeed. Leaders in the Middle East, are they leaders or are they followers? I'm not talking about those family fiefdoms. You think they worried about their people? Not at all. But let's look at this whole idea of redefining the borders. It is part of Zionist Western strategic thinking that we have to, if Israel wants to remain an imperial power in that region, they will have to break up those countries in the Middle East. Look at Iraq and the illegal invasion of Iraq in 2003. The idea was, okay, get rid of Saddam and then break Iraq up into Sunni Iraq, Shia Iraq, Kurdish Iraq. Go to Syria. What was the plan? And they failed miserably. They failed in Syria as well. Sunni Syria, Shia Syria, and Kurdish, same thing, they failed. Lebanon, same thing, they failed. Now, if you look at their strategic thinking, they say, well, to remain an imperial power, we will have to make all these countries, balkanize them, and let them become surrogate states, satellite states of Israel. So yes, that idea to redefine the borders, like they did at the end of World War I, and that's when all these family fiefdoms came into power. They will want to do the same thing. It is still on the table, it is still their agenda, they won't talk about it. But let us not forget, they want to redefine. It remains part and parcel of the Zionist strategy.
I know we're here to talk about Iran and the US, but just in passing, let me digress here. The situation in Palestine, the situation of the Israeli occupation, do we see any sort of resolution as far as that area is concerned?
I am so glad you brought that thing up. There is no resolution simply because the Zionists, don't want a resolution. Let's understand that. If there is peace in the Middle East, the repercussions are as follows. The military-industrial complex
comes to a standstill. And that's a big money generator.
Absolutely.
For the Americans as well.
Yes. And what happens to all the jobs that are those people that are employed by this industrial complex? They lose their jobs. If they lose their jobs, they will lose the vote. The Democrats or the Republicans, or whether it's the Likud, they will lose a vote on election day. This is what's happening in South Africa. It is more about how we can maintain and retain the number of people that go and vote for us on that day. So yes, there will be no peace. They will always have an existential threat, which at the moment, unfortunately, is the Muslims and Islam. The same thing we're seeing in India, and what people don't understand and don't seem to realize, whether you are Hindu in India, or you are a Jewish Zionist in that, or the Saudis, that if they finish with Palestine, you're going to be the next target.
Absolutely. We've got to wrap up, but very quickly, in just a half a second, is Trump good for the Americans and the world? I mean, he sounds like a bull in a china shop. Is he good? Is it rather the devil you know or the devil you don't know?
Depends on which side of the fence you're sitting. If you are sitting on the side of those people who realize the dangers of American imperialism and Zionist expansionism, then you are going to say he is no good. He's going to lead this world into another world war, which will then probably mean the total annihilation of humankind as we know it today. If you're on the other side of the fence and you support the Zionist expansionism and you support Western imperialism, then you will say he is the ideal choice.
So we're between a rock and a hard place as we speak.
Absolutely.
That's where we have to leave it. Absolutely fascinating for your insight. Hope we can talk to you on a more regular basis. Shukran very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
And that's where we leave the show for today. Thank you for being with me on the first show for this year, 2020. Sincerely hope you've enjoyed my company, like I've enjoyed your company. Don't forget, we'll be back together on Saturday morning at the same time. Till then, as always, it's back to school, so take care on the roads because you have your little precious cargoes in the car with you. Take it easy, and as always, it is Khuda Hafiz from me, Julie Alli.